Welcome to the Winter Prefect Summit. 6 months ago, at our last summit, we set out to build something very special, an open source orchestration engine that would be more flexible, more powerful, more performant, more resilient, and most importantly, easier to use than any other tool. We wanted to build a product that could handle any Python code on any compute for any use case. And after a long beta that received more user feedback than anything we've ever done, we launched Prefect 3 in September, and the response has been extraordinary. In the last 4 months, daily downloads have quadrupled. Open source usage has tripled, and Prefect Cloud now processes 500 million tasks every month, making it the largest commercial orchestration platform that we're aware of. But these numbers, as extraordinary as they are, only tell part of the story. What's fascinating is how this explosive growth illustrates a profound transformation in how modern organizations are approaching automation. I'd like you to imagine that each workflow is a dot of paint on a canvas. Up close, each dot must be perfect, precise, intentional, and with its own clear purpose. This is the world of micro-orchestration, where Prefect has always excelled. We treat each function as a microservice with clear contracts, enabling it to reliably execute whatever business logic you define. When you're building a workflow, this detailed view is exactly what you need. You can see every task, every dependency, and every retry condition. But as automation scales, as thousands of dots appear on your canvas, those individual points begin to form larger patterns and shapes. Relationships emerge that are impossible to see when you're focused on individual workflows. After all, no workflow is an island. But as organizations mature and automation expands, that intimate knowledge becomes impossible to maintain. We need to step back to see the complete picture. And this is the fundamental challenge facing modern enterprises. The explosion in automation isn't just creating more dots. It's creating intricate patterns that form the very shape of how automated businesses operate. Most traditional orchestrators will never confront this challenge because most orchestrators seem like they were designed to stay small. They have steep learning curves, specialized DSLs, and complex configurations that naturally limit adoption. But Prefect is different. Instead of forcing everyone to learn a new syntax, we've built a platform that lets specialists collaborate through standards. Data teams can write code the way they want. Platform teams can deploy infrastructure using the tools they prefer. It is Prefect's literal job to ensure that these pieces work together seamlessly. And this approach leads to something extraordinary at our largest customers, where we see thousands of data professionals all running code on a unified Prefect platform. These aren't simple cron jobs or basic ETL pipelines. They're real-time recommendation engines that evolve with customer behavior. They're dynamic pricing systems that adapt to market conditions. They're AI workflows that transform how organizations make decisions. Each one adds another dot to the canvas, making the picture both richer and more complex. And as organizations mature in their automation journey, we can see a very interesting progression in how they view this expanding canvas. Teams start with their faces pressed close to the surface, focused only on getting individual workflows running. At this stage, their automated universe is small enough that every detail can be held in memory. The people writing the workflows are often the same ones monitoring them because they really understand and have an expectation for how each workflow should behave. As teams start to mature, they take their first step back from the canvas. They implement alerts and basic SLAs, but they are still operating primarily in a reactive mode, still reliant on their own detailed knowledge and expectations of each workflow's behavior. Another step back, and these more mature teams are embracing dynamic operations. Workflows become event-driven, infrastructure turns elastic, teams break free from static schedules. The flexibility is liberating, but it introduces new complexity. The dots on the canvas aren't just multiplying, they're starting to move and interact in sophisticated ways. For the first time, each workflow author may not have enough context to understand how their code behaves within the larger system. The most profound transformation occurs when organizations take a major step back and recognize their automation platform as a core business asset. This is where we see the emergence of a new kind of technical stakeholder, one that we refer to as an operator. Operators represent a fundamental evolution in how organizations think about workflow platforms. Unlike workflow authors, who craft individual workflows and maintain that intimate knowledge of their implementation, operators are technical stakeholders who think in terms of system-wide outcomes. They are deeply technical professionals who could write any workflow in the system, but they operate at a different level of abstraction. And when your platform supports thousands of workflows deployed by hundreds of teams for diverse purposes, success requires more than understanding individual implementations. It requires understanding how those pieces compose into business outcomes. Think about what this means in practice. When you're training mission-critical models, there might be dozens of workflows coordinating across teams, data engineers managing feature pipelines, researchers running experiments, platform teams handling deployment. The operator is primarily concerned with how all these pieces fit together. They think in patterns, not pixels. They focus on impact, not implementation. They are technical leaders who can seamlessly move between system-wide visibility and deep technical investigation, but they're not trying to carry an inventory of every workflow in their heads. And this evolution creates the unique challenge. When something goes wrong, these operators need to zoom back in to investigate. But where? It's like approaching someone standing in front of an enormous canvas and saying, "Here, we got you a telescope." Better magnification is not the answer. We need a way to understand both the detail and the composition to seamlessly move between examining those individual dots and comprehending the masterpiece they create. And that's why today we're transforming Prefect Cloud into a true workflow intelligence platform. This isn't just a new feature or capability, it's a fundamental evolution in how we understand and manage automated processes at scale. We started by rebuilding Cloud's foundation on OpenTelemetry, which is more than just another integration. Think of it as giving us a new kind of paint, one that captures not just what each dot looks like, but how it interacts with everything around it. Every task execution, every retry, every data transfer now generates rich telemetry that we call orchestration exhaust. When you have thousands of open source engines all emitting this exhaust, you begin to see patterns that were previously invisible. For the last 5 years, we've been obsessed with perfecting micro-orchestration, making sure each dot on the canvas is flawless. But to understand macro-orchestration, to truly see the complete picture, we need a new vocabulary for describing what exists beyond the boundaries of any individual workflow run. And that's why today we're introducing something fundamentally new, a way to model not just what your code does, but how it shapes and transforms the world around it. We call it a resource. Resources are the first new concept that we've introduced since Prefect's founding, and they represent a profound shift in how we think about automated systems. A resource is any entity that your workflows interact with, depend on, or influence. This might sound abstract, but it's actually incredibly intuitive because it maps to how we naturally talk about our systems. Think about how you describe your automated processes. You don't talk about function names, you talk about what they accomplish. These workflows move data from S3 to Snowflake. This pipeline retrains our recommendation engine. These agents collect customer feedback with our proprietary LLMs. Resources give us a vocabulary to make these natural descriptions explicit and actionable. The power of resources comes from their flexibility. Physical infrastructure like S3 buckets and databases are resources. Virtual services like APIs and rate limits are resources. And even abstract concepts like customer segments or business rules can be resources as well. Each resource brings its own context, its metadata, its relationships, its constraints, creating a rich model of your automated universe. Prefect will infer these relationships from your code, but you can also define resource interactions yourself. What makes resources truly transformative is how they reveal dependencies that would otherwise remain hidden. When a workflow depends on GitHub, that might also mean that all workflows running on infrastructure where that code is stored. When a workflow calls an LLM, we can model not just the API interaction, but the entire chain of decisions that flow from that response. Resources let us map the true topology of our automated systems, including relationships that no traditional monitoring tool could capture. Now, understanding the structure of your system is one thing, but being able to see it clearly is another. And that's why we're introducing a second innovation, lenses. Lenses are a new approach to visualizing and comprehending your workflow ecosystem. Think about what happens when you log into any orchestrator today. You're immediately confronted with an undifferentiated list of every workflow, every task, every piece of activity in your system. It's like being handed a pile of jigsaw pieces without the picture on the box. If you're running a critical workflow that executes once a day, it's almost certainly lost in a sea of millions of runs from data science experiments and ad hoc analyses. Lenses transform how we visualize and understand these complex systems. They let you step back and see the complete picture, not just individual workflows, but the patterns and relationships that emerge when these workflows interact through shared resources. A lens might reveal all the interconnected processes involved in model training, showing you not just the training workflows themselves, but their connections to feature stores, GPU resources, and model registries. Another lens might illuminate your customer data ecosystem, revealing how data flows through various enrichment processes and ultimately drives business decisions. You might create a lens that only shows those flaky workflows that keep your team up at night. What makes lenses so powerful is their ability to maintain this clarity even as your system evolves. Add workflows, modify dependencies, restructure your infrastructure. Your lenses automatically adapt, maintaining a consistent view of what matters. They're not static snapshots, they're living windows into your automated processes, revealing patterns and relationships that would otherwise remain hidden. When we bring resources and lenses together, we unlock something our most sophisticated customers have been urgently seeking: the ability to conduct a forensic analysis of their automated system. They've been asking for ways to explore the blast radius of an error. When an issue is discovered and fixed, how do we trace its full impact through complex interconnected systems? This isn't a theoretical problem. Our customers are running thousands of workflows that encode mission-critical business logic. When they discover an issue with data that was processed hours ago, fixing the root cause is just the beginning. The harder challenge is understanding how far that impact propagated through the organization. In modern systems, the blast radius extends far beyond the affected data itself. Bad data might have influenced AI model training, appeared in dashboards that drove business decisions, or triggered or prevented a downstream workflow from running. Every proprietary process, every custom application, every AI model represents a potential vector for impact to spread in ways that a traditional tool simply cannot track. Resources and lenses transform how we approach this challenge by modeling every interaction and dependency in your system. Then providing dynamic views to explore these relationships, we can trace not just data flow, but decision flow, understanding not only where information went, but how it influenced your system's behavior and your organization's choices. With resources and lenses, we can model the entire system coherently. Each component, from raw data to feature stores to model artifacts, becomes a resource with clear relationships. Lenses then let us visualize these relationships at whatever level makes sense, by team, by stage, by model version, or by business impact. The implications are extraordinary. We can finally model and understand our automated systems the way we actually think about them, not as collections of individual tasks, but as composable business capabilities that work together to drive real outcomes. This is the future of workflow intelligence, systems that reveal not just what code ran, but how that code shaped your business. Over the next 2 days, you'll see these capabilities in action. You'll hear from teams operating at incredible scale about how they're tackling these same challenges. You'll see our new operational dashboards that provide unprecedented insight into system health, and you'll learn about upcoming features that let you define SLAs for entire business domains or just granular resources. But more importantly, you'll see how these innovations are just the foundation for a new way of understanding automated systems, one that recognizes that in modern enterprises, data and decisions are inseparable, that trust is not built on individual task success or the output of any given process, but on understanding how our systems actually behave when we step back to see the complete picture. The future of workflow automation isn't about running more tasks or celebrating green checkmarks. It's about building systems that prioritize outcomes over outputs, systems that scale with our ambitions rather than constraining them. By stepping back, we can finally see the masterpieces that we are creating, one carefully placed dot at a time. So join us, zoom out, and let's automate the future together.